Hey guys, today I have a very special video which I think will really shake up the XP leveling meta in Diablo Immortal, and it might be especially important for those who are pushing for Paragon 800 next week. So over the past few days I've been testing out a new XP leveling strategy and optimizing it as much as I can to maximize the amount of XP you get per hour, and I believe that with what I'll be sharing today, it's by far the best method for gaining XP, and it far outperforms Erebban or any other mode in the game. So let me just backtrack a bit. It all started with this clip that you're watching now that my friend sent me. Shout out to Beast. And as you can see, he was fighting Diablo here, which is generally content that I avoid doing as it gives no rewards besides the weekly clear, which gives you just a few legendaries and the one-time weapon cosmetic for your class. But as you can see in this clip, he's trying a different approach to this fight. And rather than activating Eldraine as the game is trying to get you to do to remove Diablo's shield and clear away the darkness, he instead opted to actually sit inside the darkness and keep clearing as many mobs as possible. And as you can see, even though they're just normal mobs, the respawn rate is actually pretty high. And to my surprise, he was actually gaining quite a lot of XP. Bear in mind that he's already at 5% XP penalty, so it's going to take him quite a lot of hours just to gain one level. But needless to say, this was my initial live reaction to this clip that he sent me.
What the hell is even that?
So before we get started with the video, I want to reiterate something that I've said before on my channel, and that is that XP in this game is kind of worthless in the long run, and this is because of the server Paragon level system, which basically ensures that players don't get too far ahead no matter how much you grind. Let's say you no-life the game completely and you play non-stop, killing every monster that stands in your way, well, you're still going to be held behind because of the penalty, and this is what allows new players to catch up really easily. In my opinion, XP only becomes relevant in one of two cases, and the first is if you're way under the server Paragon level and you need to catch up, so you need to gain a lot of XP, and the second one is if you're really close to reaching the next difficulty level and you want to reach it a few days or a few weeks before everyone else, and in which case it's going to be really important for you to actually take note of your XP and how much XP you're gaining. So if you fall into one of these two camps, then this video is going to be useful to you. And if you're just part of the third camp of people just wondering what kind of crazy shit Mao was up to, then you're also welcome to continue watching. But yeah, just be prepared for an interesting video. Even though I am making content about this, I'm not going to recommend all players to do it, so it's really up to you and what you find fun in the game. You should always prioritize that rather than what a content creator says. Let's first start with a quick history recap of XP in Diablo Immortal since it was released. For the longest time, the best way to gain XP was to farm in the open world and collect 10 monster essence, which drop from killing mobs, and then you turn that in the bestiary and you get one of the pages, which is going to give you a decent amount of XP. And this combined with claiming your battle pass was generally the fastest way to level. After a few days of the game being released, players quickly realized that unfortunately if your level starts getting too high, you start getting heavily penalized and any XP you gain is reduced heavily by the XP penalty. This made a lot of players really frustrated, and a few of them actually decided to outright quit the game at that point. I think that Rax said it better than I could ever explain it, so I'll just play a short clip from one of his videos here.
If you are at whatever Blizzard determines the server Paragon level to be, you will get 100% XP. So you just get normal XP, right? But if you're way behind, if you're a brand new 60, Blizzard says, come on, little Timmy, we want you to play with the big boys. Here's 200% XP at Paragon 0, and then maybe it's 190 at Paragon 1. You're just loving life. You're gaining Paragon levels like crazy, and you're catching up to the server Paragon level. Now, Rob and I hate ourselves, so we were playing yesterday at server Paragon level 16, and we were level 29. We were 13 levels above the server Paragon level, and our XP was 10%. That's right. Blizzard was taking 90% of our XP and throwing it in the trash can because Blizzard has a collar around us and says, bad Rob, bad Rax, stop getting XP. We need to drag you back toward the server Paragon level.
A few months later, players discovered that you could also save XP in the mail with things like Shadow Assembly, and so this became the new strategy that people used. Then about 6 months into the game, a friend and I actually discovered that raids first clear XP gives huge XP, and this could actually be saved if you did other raids as part of your weekly reset. And this was one of the only things in the game which is not reduced by the XP penalty, so this was huge because everything up to this point was getting penalized by the XP penalty. I posted a video on this, which was actually the first ever video video I posted, and this video quickly gained popularity and was picked up by many of the big content creators at the time, people like Dark Microtransaction.
This strategy we're about to explain will allow you to push beyond the server Paragon limit. If you continue grinding your server Paragon experience, eventually you're going to have 0% experience gains because it hard caps you at 16 levels above this. But there is a way to gain experience without it being reduced combat experience, and it is actually millions of experience at a time. Now, I originally actually saw this on Reddit, which links back to this guy's YouTube video, Mao, so credit where credit is due.
I just want to pause the video here and acknowledge something. You can see that in this video I had 186 subscribers at that point, and it was actually insane. Like, this video was gaining thousands of views, and I'm really grateful to how far this channel has come. In just 2 years since this video, we're almost at 8,000 subscribers now, which is crazy, and I'm really grateful for all the support that I'm getting and all of the kind messages that I'm getting on a daily basis with people telling me how much they appreciate my content and how helpful it is. So I'm really happy about that. Thank you all so much, guys. But now let's get back to the video.
But in the scenario you're like me and you're close to the next difficulty and you want some unmitigated experience, instead of getting half of my experience, I can get a full couple million experience automatically. What you can actually do is go to your Helicory bosses, and you see how there's experience game rewards. If you go back to the previous difficulties, let's say like I go to a Hell 3 difficulty, you see how there's experience game rewards? When you have your rewards still available, you can do these and gain huge chunks of experience that is unmitigated. You can even do it solo. Watch me as I solo do it. Now, keep in mind, I'm currently at 2.2 million experience and 50% reduced. We are very quickly just going to kill the boss here. Let him burn down. Let's see if we can get him fairly quickly. And now check that out. Did you see that 2 million experience gained? And I automatically, where's my experience now? I'm automatically at 703. That was 2 million experience in less than 30 seconds, completely unmitigated by what my Paragon level is in comparison to the server. Now, you can do this 5 times, meaning you can get 10 million experience without being mitigated at all. So you can just get a flat 10 million experience.
Even though this first clear XP was a one-time reward for raids, this kind of became the new meta, and with Blizzard adding more and more new raids, we always kind of had some first clear XP, and many people, including myself, use this strategy, as well as all of the other strategies that I mentioned previously, to reach server first Paragon for each new difficulty. And for a while, this was the best strategy, until about 9 months ago, when we had Erebban and Abyssal Verge, which are new modes which were introduced to the game. And after playing those modes a few times, I noticed that they actually gave pretty decent XP, so I decided to make an updated video sharing my XP per hour data for almost every mode in the game, which a lot of people found helpful. And in that video I discovered that Erebban was actually the new king of XP, and it was giving 2 times more XP rewards compared to the traditional open world farm. So 2 times faster doesn't sound like that much, but if you consider that when you're pushing way past the server Paragon level into 5% penalty and even lower, it's going to take you more than 10 hours just to gain 1 level, which is a huge time save. It's going to take this down to about 6 to 7 hours playing Erebban instead of open world. Even though I showed that Erebban was by far the superior way to level, and it also gives you pretty decent rewards with the gems and the rune turn-ins, many players still opted to stick with traditional open world farming because it's less hands-on. And nowadays you can play open world farming completely AFK while also having your group to rely on, which is really good, because if you have to step away, then your group can kind of carry you through it. And honestly, I have kind of mixed feelings about AFK farming. I haven't really mentioned any AFK farming builds on my channel, but for the sake of this video, I want to stay on topic and talk more about the new strategy rather than going on a tangent about AFK farming. So I'm going to call this new strategy the Diablo Infinite Mob Runs. And after knowing how it works, you'll see why I've come up with that name. And after doing hours of testing with this, I found that this method is actually 1.6 times faster than Erebban, and it cuts the time to level and a 5% penalty from 7 hours to about 4.5 hours. And considering that with good preparation, you only need to level about 1 to 2 5% levels to reach 20 levels above the server Paragon, with this strategy, I think that it's going to be possible to reach Paragon 800 less than 8 hours after the server reset. And that's what I'm going to be aiming for coming next Monday. Anyway, I think that's enough waffling. I'll quickly explain how this method works, as well as my most preferred way to run it, and I'll quickly go over some positives and negatives of using a method like this to farm, because even though it is the highest XP per hour by far, there are definitely still some drawbacks. So first of all, to be able to challenge Diablo in a fight, you'll need to unlock the World's Crown Zone, which is at the top of the map here. And I think that you need to do the main quest for this. I'm not 100% sure. But basically, when you have this unlocked, you need to be at least on Inferno 4 difficulty. This will guarantee that you get the maximum amount of XP. From my testing, it doesn't matter if you're on Inferno 4, 5, or 6. They all give the same amount of XP. You can only challenge Diablo from Inferno 1+, but Inferno 1 to 3 all give a lot less XP. So this is why I've chosen to stay on Inferno 4. And then I click on the World's Crown here, and this is the waypoint that you want to go to. It's the Terrace Sanctum waypoint. So I'm quickly going to go to this waypoint here, and then I'll trigger the fight, and I can show you guys exactly how it works step by step. So let's quickly do that here. So here we go. I've just traveled to the Terrace Sanctum waypoint, and you can fight Diablo here at this gate. It says enter Terrace Sanctum, so I'll just do this. As you can see, I already have my weekly rewards. Sometimes I don't even bother with this. You only get the reward once a week, and it gives you the cosmetic and some legendary items, and this is only one time. So it's per class, so you can unlock this cosmetic on every class when you class change. So I guess that's something good about this, but let's just go ahead and do this. So here we go. Let's just enter, and we can enter solo or in a group. It doesn't matter. For this strategy, both solo and in a group works absolutely fine. And I'll quickly talk a bit more about that later in the video. But for now, let's just go ahead and start this. So to start off the fight, to enter the first phase here, you have to get this cutscene, and I'm going to skip this beautiful cutscene here, but you can watch it if you'd like to in your own time. And here we go, the Lord of Terror. So basically for this first phase here, you just want to get his HP down as quickly as possible. You'll notice that my build is a little bit strange, but I'll be explaining why that is. So now we've entered the second phase of the fight, and this is where he starts doing his darkness, and it kind of closes in on you. And basically you want to be using your Eldraine, the sword, basically to clear away this darkness. But what we noticed is that if you don't clear away the darkness, you'll be able to basically keep respawning these mobs, and it will last 7 minutes, 7 full minutes of endless respawning, and basically you'll be able to get XP from this. So if I look at my logs here, you can see that I'm basically gaining 27 XP for every single mob that I kill, and the respawn rate is actually pretty high. But what I'd actually recommend you guys to do is, after clearing him down and getting to this phase, is that you want to actually skip to the third phase here. And I'll explain why that is, but basically you have to trigger Eldraine 3 times, so I'll quickly do that now. So that was the second one, and you can see that his shield is now breaking, and the darkness is kind of moving to the outer edges now again. So here we go. This is the third phase of the fight now, so basically it's pretty easy. You just want to take him down once again, and there we go. Now we're going to enter the fourth phase of the fight here, and he basically does the same attack after you basically kill him here. So let's just quickly do that. He does another cutscene just laughing away at us here. And this actually does look pretty sick, but to me the boss isn't really that challenging, I'm not going to lie. Maybe for free-to-play or really low resonance players that could be the case, but I think for most active players, honestly, even if you're low resonance, you can kill him pretty fast. So this is the phase that you want to get to, basically. It's the second phase of this darkness. And once you've got to this phase, you can see that he's spawning these extra type of mobs, which are these kind of overlords. I like to call them overlords, but I think it's like a despot. That's what the game says. And these mobs give you extra XP compared to the other ones. So let's quickly look at the logs here. You can see I'm getting 27, but once in a while I'm getting 85 XP here, which is a huge amount of XP, and it just feels like this mode gives like 2 times more XP compared to the first mode. So the first mode is already giving excellent XP, but this mode here is the mode that you want to be focusing on. So basically, if you don't trigger Eldraine at this point, you'll be able to fight non-stop continuously and kill up all these monsters here for the next 7 minutes. And then once you reach 7 minutes, this shield is going to break automatically, even if you don't use Eldraine. And basically, the fight is going to continue. But to get around that, what you can do is actually reset Diablo here, and he's basically going to go back to this zone here. So let's say that I've been fighting here for 7 minutes, and I've gained all of the XP that I want to gain. It's kind of funny, like doing this, I was able to actually see my XP bar moving on a 5% level, which is just insane. Like normally when I'm playing on 5%, as you can see here, I'm not gaining any XP, and I can't really see the bar move, even if I'm playing Erebban, but with this, it's kind of crazy. So you want to basically be fighting here for 7 minutes, like I said, and once you've been fighting for 7 minutes, you want to move away here and just wait for him to basically reset. If you did fight for a full 7 minutes and take him to the next phase, that's also fine. You just want to move away from him so he actually resets completely, and then he can take you back to this phase again. So the 7 minutes are now up. I've just entered the last phase of the fight, As you can see, Diablo is now exposed, and if I just hit him now and kill him, the fight is going to be over, but I want to reset the fight, at least to the second portion of the fight there, where I had the massive XP. So what I'm actually going to do now is just quickly die. You can either move away, that will also reset him, but sometimes if he's jumping around too much and getting close to you, that's not going to reset the fight very effectively. So I'm just going to try to die here. Sometimes that's going to be a bit challenging. So I've just died there, and now you can reset checkpoint, and once you reset checkpoint here, you just want to wait a few seconds, and that will basically reset the fight here. So here we go. Just going to wait a few seconds. So there we go. As you can see, now the fight's been reset here. So you can see that he's back to 65 million on Inferno 4. And if I just hit him here, you'll be able to see that he goes back to the second phase directly, so you don't have to do all of the first few phases again. And you'll know that by looking at the mobs here. If you see this fat mob here, like I said, that gives 85 XP, then you know that you're on the second phase of the fight, and you know that you're going to be getting the maximum amount of XP. So this is basically the strategy in a nutshell, guys. You really don't have to move around so much. You can just stay in the middle here. And I'll quickly be going over the builds and stuff so that you guys can actually have a chance at surviving, because it is kind of challenging to survive. But just so you guys know, it's really important to actually run this on an Inferno 4 or higher, because these XP numbers are only for Inferno 4 or higher. If you run this on Inferno 3, I think the 27 XP that I'm gaining on 5% penalty is reduced to 2 XP, which is pretty bad. And the other thing to note is that these numbers are all affected by the XP penalty. So if your XP penalty is really high, let's say you're at like 200 or 300%, you're going to level extremely fast, because this method, even at 5%, is you're leveling pretty fast. It's only going to take you about 4 hours. So what I'm going to do now is quickly actually leave the fight, and I'll quickly recap something. So just one thing to note before I leave the fight is that you can actually keep resetting this and playing for 7 minutes every time, but eventually after 2 hours are up, it's going to kick you from the dungeon. So you will get like a banner that shows you that you've been in the dungeon, and it's going to basically give you a minute to get out, otherwise it's going to kick you. But once it kicks you, you can keep resetting this fight and playing as many times as you'd like. So as far as the XP per hour numbers are concerned, I actually gained 750,000 XP per hour at 5%, running like this, where I kept repeating that phase. And compared to Erebban, Erebban was roughly 450,000 XP per hour. So with Erebban, you're going to be gaining a full 5% level in roughly 7 hours. But with this mode, you're going to be gaining it in roughly 4 to 4.5 hours, which is really crazy. So if you don't know, the XP for a full level in Diablo Immortal is 3.5 million, and every single level in the game is 3.5 million XP. The only thing that makes a difference is the XP rewards, so it's the XP penalty, and this is dependent on how far you are above the server Paragon level. And in my case, you can see I'm 18 levels above right now, which is really high. Normally I'm not so high as this, but just because I want to push for Paragon 800 at the start of next week, I think that with this strategy, I should be able to reach very quickly. As always, the full numbers are going to be in my Diablo Immortal resources sheet, which I'll leave a link to in the description. And if you're wondering what 750k translates to at 100% penalty, it's roughly 15 million XP per hour, 100% penalty. So this mode could potentially also be pretty strong if you want to be carrying your friends who recently came back to the game, then it could be pretty good there. So with that said, let's quickly go over the advantages and disadvantages, in my opinion, of running this. So the advantage is obviously it's the highest XP per hour in the game, at least from what I've found so far, and it's definitely lazier than Erebban. You don't need to move a lot, you just stand still basically, and you just want to be mindful that you reset Diablo every 7 minutes and just don't kill him in that last phase. And the mobs are pretty easy to kill. You don't need to be able to kill Diablo himself, you just need to be able to kill the mobs. And it does work really well in a party. So compared to Erebban, where you don't want to be running with more than 2 man in Erebban, this mode works really well in a party. If at least one of you can survive, then you will be able to actually help your group out, because even if you're dead, you still gain XP. This is what I found out. So this means that if you have friends who are returning to the game, like I said, this might actually be one of the fastest ways to get them back up to server Paragon level. level. The downside is that it's super boring, but if you're doing something else like watching Netflix, then you can obviously hold down a few skills and hold down your primary attack and just farm for them while doing that. So as far as the disadvantages go, besides XP, you really get nothing. You get zilch, you get nada, you get no loot. So that's kind of unfortunate because compared to traditional farming, where you do get quite a lot of loot and quite a lot of stuff to salvage, you really get nothing here. The other disadvantage is you do need at least a minimum of Inferno 4, like I mentioned, and some people do not have Inferno 4 unlocked. And finally, the last disadvantage is that you actually do need some build setup because you will be struggling to survive. Even though the mobs don't do that much damage, the darkness itself actually does quite a lot of damage. And even for a player like myself, when I had an unoptimized build for this, I was actually dying quite a lot. And if you die, it's not the end of the world because you can keep resetting back to checkpoint and going back to Diablo and fighting him again, but it will actually lower your XP power significantly if you keep dying, so you do want to be at least able to survive for the majority of the time while you're in the dark. So this is actually going to be a lot easier for certain classes compared to others. If we just go back to town here, I'll quickly show why that is. So let's just go back to the underground camp here. Basically, for classes like Barbarian or Blood Knight, it's going to be super easy and you won't have to worry too much because those classes have sustain and healing. For Barbarian, you actually have an offhand essence here, which is called, I believe, the Royal Persuasion. So here it is. It says that Wrath of Berserker no longer increases attack and movement speed. It instead gives you critical hit damage and gives you life drain. This is the really important thing. This life drain is crucial and it's basically going to allow you to have sustain and you're basically going to be able to out heal the damage that the darkness does to you. So if you have this, you're basically golden for Barbarian. And then the same for Blood Knight. So Blood Knight, I think it has like a pants essence for Swarm of Bats. Let me quickly try to find it. This one here. So this one is really good. Swarm of Bats now heals you for 21% of the damage it deals. I believe that with this essence alone, you should also be able to out heal the darkness. So those are just two essence. If you have these, then you should be able to out heal. For Necro, there are quite a lot of options. I'm sure that any AFK open world farming build will be able to work fine. I know that my friend who told me about this trick is a real fan of the new essence, which is the Draw Deep here, which says that Bone Armor passively absorbs the soul of enemies you slay, generating a shield, and he can gain insane shields from this, so this will also help you out a lot. For Crusader, there's not so many good options, but there are a few options, and I was able to survive after tweaking my build slightly, so I'll be going over some general tips and tricks just to help you guys. So I believe that for all classes, they should be able to survive. So I'll start off with some general tips. So for the first tip, you want to be using the Survivor Paragon tree. This is going to help you survive a lot, and it's basically similar to the setup that I use in Vanguard. You want to be using Indestructible, Unyielding, Stalwart, and Precognition, and then finally you want to be using Regeneration. This is really good. And then for the legendary skill, I'm using Benefactor, so this is going to allow you to survive a lot better. And then for the Warband Room, you also want to be using the Protector Warband Room. This is really good to have the block chance and also the increased life and increased size, and generally this will help you survive a lot better. And then moving on from this, you can also use some really nice legendary gems. So for example, there are a few defensive options. This one here that I'm using is called the Hunger. This actually works really well, so I've got it at rank 8, and it says that you instantly heal for 120% of your base damage and increase your attack speed. This cannot occur more often than once every 20 seconds, but it's still really nice to have an extra heal aside from your healing potion. And there are a few other defensive gems like Frozen Heart or the 1-star gem, I think it's called Exigent Echo, that gives you block chance. Those are also options, but I've just decided to go for the Hunger here and basically keep my setup the same other than that gem. The other really crucial thing is that you want to go for 6 pieces of Vithus. This effect is really good if you know about it when I'm playing Vanguard. It gives you some really nice healing and it'll heal you back to full. Other than that, I would say you could also go for some of the new defensive affixes like the Endure or the Resistance, which gives you a shield. I think I have it here. So gain a shield equal to 15% of your maximum life for 5 seconds when falling below 10% life. Cannot occur more often than once every 30 seconds. So these are really good if you go for them, the Endure or the Resistance. And that's about it. I think the only other thing I have is the defensive stance here, which is really nice. It gives me 10% damage reduction, but obviously not all classes have this, so that's kind of unfortunate. So as far as my build for Crusader, I'm just using a Fire Banner build. It's a really standard one, and because obviously I wanted to run with the Conjuration of Light, which gives me the immune just to save me, then I decided to switch out the Horse Summons, or the Horse basically, and have the Conjuration of Light. So in that case, because the Pants Essence is now free, I could use the Permanent Reproach, which gives me Condemn Radius. You could also go for the extra Condemn damage with the Curse of Scorn, I think it's called. But this is basically my build: Iron Ignition, Heart of Grandeur, Yawning Rose, Permanent Reproach, and then Horn Splitter and the Bristle for Sacred Fire. and Resplendent Mane for Sacred Fire attack speed. You could also go for Blinding Wall, doesn't really matter. And then finally, Torrential Refrain, just the standard basically build with Conjuration of Light built in. And the other really important thing is obviously you want to go for a Savior pet. This really helps, so I've just got a really basic Savior pet here. So that's about all that I want to share for this one, guys. I'm really happy that I found this new strategy for XP farming, and I'm only really going to be using this for sprinting to the new difficulty. It's not really worth using outside of that because, like I said, it doesn't give any loot, and I'm not going to recommend it to the majority of players. But while it's in the game, I'm going to be using it. I'm not sure if it's going to be like hotfixed or nerfed or something like that. I'm not too sure if it's intended, but I guess technically it's not really a bug because you're not activating Eldraine, so Diablo is trying to kill you as much as he can, so it kind of makes sense. Just before I end the video, I do want to let you guys know that I have memberships available on my channel for those of you who want to give me extra support. I'm already very grateful to those of you who decide to subscribe to my channel and also watch my videos, but if you do want to give me that extra support, then you can go ahead and join and become a member, and you do get some exclusive perks like some of the emotes to my channel, and I also do post there some of the sneak previews for my upcoming content, and you will be able to kind of comment there to give me some feedback for what you want to see next on my channel. So for example, for this video, I had some posts here, as you can see, for my members only, and it's just a nice way for me to give back a bit. Obviously, I'm going to keep my content always available for everyone. It's not really fair for me to gatekeep any of my content behind some membership. It's not really my style as well. I am also in the process of setting up a Discord server for my channel so that you guys know when I'm live, and if you want to be one of the first persons to join that, then also do consider joining as a member. But for now, I'm going to be signing off. Thank you all so much for your support. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and do let me know what you guys think if you try this out, and if you see how much XP you get, then I'm really curious to hear your thoughts and opinions. I'm hopefully planning to try to stream either tomorrow or on Monday. Maybe I can show some of the journey of me pushing to Paragon 800 on stream. That would be really nice. But if I don't see you then there will definitely be a video about that, so I'll catch you guys all then. For now, have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you all very soon. Peace.